And we have next Shailja Kejriwal, Chief Creative Officer, Special Projects at Zee Entertainment. She has produced nationally acclaimed films and pioneered path-breaking media initiatives such as Zindagi, the TV channel, Zee Theatre, and Zeal for Unity. Um, Shailja, you are the first South Asian producer to have created cross-border content for television, web series, films, and theatre. In your experience, what have been the main problem areas in the depiction of gender roles on screen in our part of the world?
Hi, everyone, and great to be a part of this panel. I want to start by telling you all a small incident. So, which will probably, explain this point very well. So, I was making a film some time back. I don't know whether you all have seen it. It was called Kareeb Kareeb Single. It was directed by female director Tanuja Chandra. It was produced by two women, Shutpa Sikdar and myself. It was written by a trans woman, which is Ghazal Dhaliwal, and it was the main lead was Irfan, who is an ally for sure. Uh, the story was such that we wanted to have a character who was from Kerala as the female protagonist, as in as the female character. And she's 35, she's a widow, and she's looking for love again. Um, in that, she goes off on a trip with Irfan's character. Now, when the edit was happening, a very famous, very well-known industry stalwart told us that ये क्या किया है आप लोगों ने, because this film is never going to work. You've cast a 35-year-old woman. You've cast somebody who is not Gori Sundar Sushil looking, who may be a great actor, but who's not Gori Sundar Sushil. And kaun aurat, which woman actually who is who can go away with a man just for a trip, her character was somebody who was 35, independent, and at the top of her game. And this was the feedback given to us, that a woman who is 35 and on top of her game, and who is a working person, actually should not be able to, it's not going to be accepted that she goes off on a trip. So unfortunately, the industry stalwart was proven right, because he said कि North India में तो कोई नहीं देखेगा, this film. These are so. What I want to say by this illustration is कि having people make that content, who are all women, who are empowered women, who are allies. Even then, when we try to depict a 35-year-old played by a 35-year-old who is supposed to be from Kerala, so is not the Gori Sundar Sushil in the the quote unquote conventional manner. This is the kind of response that you get, and unfortunately proven right. So even starting from a very simple thing like skin tone, and what should the skin tone be, the reason that was given to us was that television channels on a daily basis hammer home the idea of the ideal woman, and the ideal woman is supposed to be the woman who you see in the matrimonial column, the matrimonial column with yeah. So chahiye guri sushil ladki. And it is so deep rooted because it comes from the colonial past of fair being beautiful, and sabli being not beautiful, or heroine, quote unquote heroine material. So just there, you have a small incident which, in terms of casting, or in terms of talking about a woman, and that woman being able to take her own decision and walk, go on a trip with a man, is something that the audiences are said to not accept. So with all good
Yeah.
intention, uh, It just starts. So this is just one incident to explain this thing. So we face these kind of issues when we create content in South Asia. Ki kaam kya karega? What is going to work? Because finally, we have to remember that it is a capital intensive medium of entertainment, and so then you, however much you negotiate with this, you sort of, it's a slow process is all I can say. It's a slow
Mm.
process.
Right, right. Yeah, we'll come back to this topic with you again because you've worked cross border, and you've been able to see a rather holistic picture of the whole region and the problems that we face out here.
The
Yeah,
problems, what I meant was that, with this example, what I wanted to say is
yeah,
that the problem is similar.
yeah. They're
We're not
similar.
that
Yeah,
different. We're not that different in terms of, depiction of women. We're not that different in terms of how we see women in mainstream. Of course there are outliers, and of course there are, people doing great
yeah.
work and people doing path breaking work, but this was just an example of mainstream, how mainstream media deals with women.
Yeah, and I think today we are going to be talking about the mainstream and cinema and television, which is seen by the masses, really. Your work has been about bringing together India and Pakistan on a single platform. In fact, Zindagi and Zeal for Unity brought the two countries together after more than 60 years through television and through content. So you've been watching this over a period of time. Now, earlier films were made keeping mass audiences in mind, and like Aisha has just pointed out, now that we have web content, we have now also have more women in positions of power like you. So do you think now the situation is changing, and do you feel that you're seeing more producers becoming responsible with content?
um, so actually I agree a lot with what Anna was saying earlier. uh, we have to, like they say, in every good story you have to follow the money,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So when we
Hmm.
say when we say that, initially, there used to be shows which had, strong female protagonists, or they had, something like more relatable female protagonists. You have to understand the audience like a pyramid.
Hmm.
It depends on who is the audience that you're targeting at the point. So in the 70s and 80s, who were the people who could afford a television set? Who were the people who could afford to buy cinema tickets and go and see the films? And especially in terms of
Right.
television, who could afford the television set? It's very important to understand that it's not by chance that the portrayal of various characters were sort of, or female characters were slightly more evolved earlier, like what Aisha said. They were more evolved earlier, and now they've become, sort of more and more regressive. The reason is, one of the reasons is that the money is bet on the lowest common denominator at the time. So
Hmm.
in the 70s, the people who owned the hardware of a television set were a certain class of people with a certain set of exposure, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
As the hardware has gone in deeper and deeper, as the hardware has gone in deeper and deeper, whether they are the advertisers, whether they are the investors, whether they are the money bags, they would want to reach out. Why do we say 300 crore ki picture? Why are we not happy with 20 crore ki picture? Because
Hmm.
the you want to go deeper and deeper and deeper in terms of the audience set. once
Hmm.
once you go down the pop strata, we always keep saying that, India is many Indias in one India. So once you go down the pop strata, unfortunately, it's not just about, and if a medium is seen primarily as a business, then the kind of content that is asked of all the people to do is that, reach out. So an FMCG product who's advertising on your content, for example, will tell you कि कानपुर की भाभी ये नहीं देखेगी, or they will say कि फलाना, more down the pop strata, ये you have to relate to what they are used to seeing and what is the reality in their lives. So अगर उनकी
Hmm.
reality में everyone slaps the wife, then that's what is sort of required to be done for it
Hmm.
to Television is also determined by TRPs. Movies are determined by 100 crores, 200 crores, 300 crores. It just doesn't end. Recently, we made Pathan, and the way we show an ISI agent, for example, is ridiculous, or the way we depict
Yeah.
movie in a 1,000 crore film is bizarre. So it is
Mm.
really about, the reason I was nodding while Anna was talking about it, that people think that just because there are women in decision making, quote unquote decision making positions, these are creative decisions, but the money decisions are supposed to govern the creative decisions, unfortunately, or
Mm.
whatever. And so, honestly, I mean, I don't want to sound like a doomsday prophet, but uh, I think till such time content, whether it's on TV, whether it's on OTT. I mean, OTT, we just started out. Television started out with great programming. Who is
Mm.
watching OTT today is what we have to see. But as we
Mm.
go down 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you already know in OTT platforms is being said TV plus banaiye, TV plus
Mm.
banaiye, because you need audience, as in the people who are putting in the money need more and more and more audiences. So
Mm.
that is the most important thing to see, that it's not कि ऐसे ही पहले better था. It's like the audience, we are told that this is the audience demand and this is the audience that you have to cater to. So if you try to make something, for example, I produced a serial called Churels, which was made by a
Yeah.
Pakistani director, and it was made by Pakistani artists and so on and so forth. And it was banned in Pakistan. It was not promoted in India because it
Mm.
was too much about women's rage, and women's rage is not something that quote unquote anybody wants to see. But I don't know about it, but um, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot that can be
There's
said.
a
It's
lot.
not
Yeah.
that if you just have women,
It's like you're struggling to actually look for something optimistic in the whole picture. So, yeah.
I'm just hoping जिसको कहते हैं ना कि एक छोटा सा कोना तो रखो, I mean,
Mm.
the whole thing can be, because it is capital intensive. It's not art. We're not sitting at home and making our art, and therefore the people, however much of the front that we women project, the back is
Mm.
suits. The front is
Yeah.
the back is suits,
Yeah.
which tells you that
Yeah.
what you want to do and what are your targets,
Yeah.
really, instead of
Yeah.
what are your stories. So when you ask
Mm.
for targets rather than stories, I mean,
Yeah. No, no, I'm not asking you target. So, so